You're listening to Everybody Pulls the Tarp, the go-to podcast for high performers. I'm Andrew Moses. Each week, you'll hear my thought-provoking conversations with Olympians, pro athletes, CEOs, elite coaches, best-selling authors, and other high performers to uncover their secrets to success. Get ready to be inspired each week when we talk about leadership, teamwork, work ethic, and more. Are you ready? Let's go. Hi, everyone. This week, my guest is two-time Olympic gold medalist and two-time World Cup champion, Kristine Lilly. Kristine is one of the greatest soccer players ever. During her career, Kristine scored 130 goals, which is fourth all-time in U.S. women's national team history. She played for the U.S. in 4 different decades, holds the world record for international appearances, and competed in 5 FIFA Women's World Cups. In 2012, she was inducted into the U.S. Olympic Hall of Fame. Over the past few years, I've gotten to know Kristine and always enjoyed tapping into her wisdom about leadership, teamwork, and how to perform your best at anything. I invited her on Everybody Pulls the Tarp to dig deeper into these areas. We explored Kristine's extraordinary career and all of the little details that made her one of the greatest soccer players of all time. At the beginning of our conversation, we revisit one of Kristine's stories that I absolutely love. And it's all about orange slices and popsicles. If you played sports as a kid or have kids that play sports, you might have an idea what I'm talking about. Nothing refreshes you quite like orange slices at halftime and a popsicle after a hard-fought game. For Kristine, memories of orange slices and popsicles during youth soccer had a profound impact on her career and helped her keep things in perspective, no matter how big of a stage she was on. When I am stressed, overwhelmed, and feeling pressure in my own life, I always think back to Kristine's story about orange slices, and it helps keep everything in perspective. I hope our conversation about orange slices, popsicles, and Kristine's other success secrets helps you do the same. So let's pull the tarp and get straight to Kristine Lilly. Where I want to begin is a story that I've heard you tell, and it's something that I share with people a lot of times in different contexts. You talked about orange slices and orange slices at halftime and at the end of games being really what drew you to soccer in the first place. And you told a story where you talked about the power of really not taking yourself too seriously and remembering why you do something in the first place. And you said something to the effect of, no matter how many World Cups I played in, no matter how many Olympic games I played in, how many medals piled up, I really kept going back to why I was doing this in the first place, the orange slices. Talk about that for a minute. Was that something that you've always thought about and has been near and dear to you?
You know, it's so funny. I do love sharing that story because it's as simple as it is. You know, when I got into the game of soccer, it wasn't necessarily the game that I loved. It was the people. It was the orange slices at halftime. It was the, popsicles after the game. When you look at that for young kids, you want something to get them into the game if it's not already there. And that's really what drew me. And even later in life, playing the game and going through, when you look back at memories, when I share memories with my teammates, it's not like, oh, you guys remember when we won the World Cup? Because everybody knows that. It's, hey, do you remember the locker room? Do you remember, that funny story on that trip that, the bus ride? It's those intimate moments that you tend to remember more and that really kind of trigger in your brain. And the orange slices was that for me as a kid. And to this day, I look back at fondness of my youth playing the game and then just what the game's given me throughout my whole career.
You've given the game so much, Kristine. You've played on some of the world's best teams, a 4-time national champion at UNC, and then obviously all the success with the U.S. women's national team, which I think is one of the best teams at anything in the entire world. I'm curious when you think about the women's national team. Christy Pierce-Rampone was on this show. She told me that the practices with the U.S. women's national team are sometimes, if not all the time, harder than the games. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, it's one of the most competitive environments you could possibly be in.
Yeah, I mean, Christy is so spot on with that. I mean, I look back to like the late 80s, early 90s when, the women's game wasn't really on the map anywhere. And we were playing and we used to win games single-handedly, some games, not all the games, just like the team today, we'll win a game 5-6-0 here and there. And I remember the reporters used to go up like, you guys always win. You never lose. I'm like, well, hold on a second. we lose every day in practice, and practices were so competitive and they were so high energy, and it was like a game, and that we did lose. And what we learned about that is that we didn't like to lose. So when it came to the game time, we're like, all right, guys, let's get this done. So our training environments were top notch, and the atmosphere that Anson, Dorrance brought, Tony DiCicco, April Heinrichs brought to those training sessions is really what made the strength of our team. The training, and then the chemistry and the culture that we had there was incredible.
Kristine, I did some quick back of napkin math before we got on here. And in the history of the U.S. women's national team, the team has won roughly 80% of the games it's played in. I mean, it's remarkable. So there have been some losses through the years, but a ton of success and an incredible team. And something that I've learned from talking to different generations of players is that there's so much consistency in that, or it seems to me from afar, and some of the conversations I have, that there's consistency, there's culture, there's something that's kind of deeply ingrained in the U.S. women's national team that allows the success to continue on well past your playing days, and probably will, past the playing days of the people on the team today. What is it about that has created the consistency? What is it about the team that's created the consistency over the years?
I think it is remarkable. And I do, when I do speak about this team, I share that. I mean, the time that I was on the team, 23 years, we never came lower than third place in any big event. The Olympics, we never came in, we got a silver, and I got 2 golds in the 3 Olympics that I was in. And then the 5 World Cups, we won 2 World Cups and 3 bronze place. So we never were below third place in any big event. And that's a credit to just the players that all contributed to that, the coaching staff, the culture that was started from Anson to Tony to April. And it really was an atmosphere where you want to be the best that you could be, but in return, that was going to make your team better. It was a kind of an unselfish place to be, with some selfishness to create that environment even and more so. So I'm amazed that there's not more talk about our team, not necessarily the time I'm playing, but just what they've done. I mean, just now the back-to-back World Cups. I mean, it's just incredible, and that's just there's no team that has done that at that high level, I would say, of the world. I mean, you could talk about basketball, and they say world champions, but I mean, where they play Canada, to bring the world in there. It's incredible, and I'm glad to have been part of the beginning and been part of that culture and paving the way and that mentality of success there.
Nobody, the U.S. women's national team gets so many accolades, but I still don't think it's enough. I still don't think enough people around the world realize how good this team is, and for such a long, consistent period of time. You talked about selflessness and some selfishness that kind of balance together to make things go. Again, going back to Christy Pierce-Rampone, she told me, she said, when I got into camp, I came from Monmouth, and I was fortunate that there were some people on the team like Kristine Lilly and Joy Fawcett and Brandy Chastain who took me under their wings and specifically helped her. She was talking about a position change. And she talked about how everybody went about their own business in a very, very focused way, but there were people like you and others who were willing to help and lift other players up. How do you find that right balance between what you're focused on for yourself and the role that you have to bring, and then lifting others up? How do you find that balance?
You have to, because if you want to stay on that team, you need that balance, because it's not just about you. And that's what I think, what I've learned so much from the success of our team is we need everyone. We need everyone to be on. And when I talk about selfishness, it's more so your training environment, being selfish and being the best that you can be. Because if you're doing that, then you're going to help your team. And then the unselfish part is just being a great teammate, bringing people along, because everybody's been in the position. Everybody's been new on the team. So you have to go through that part. So if you're a veteran player and you want to, lend an arm to one of the younger players, not necessarily in practice and let them beat you, but, hey, show them that this is what you got to do on the field, and off, let's go chat and let me hear about your life and then, what's going on. So there's definitely that great balance. And you do have some players that do it better than others. I think I'm a little bit quieter. I think I did reach out to players, but I'm a little bit quieter. So it may seem like I don't want to. But then you got great players. Carla Overbeck was our captain, and she did a tremendous job of bringing people in always. and doing it in a way where they didn't feel like, oh, I'm on the team. I'm that's easy. It was in a way like, hey, you want to be here? I'll help you. This is what you got to do. So we had a lot of players that did some great things to make our team united, and it was the right fit. If you fit that mentality of the team, then you were the right fit for it.
It seems like whether it's the team captain or role players, it always seems from afar and from talking to a few of you in that group that there's just great leaders all over the women's national team program for years and years and years. Is that like, what is it, like chicken or the egg? Is it like, does the program create good leaders? Does the program like self-select great leaders? Like, how does it work?
Well, I think, if you're making the team and you're a leader probably already there, you necessarily are not creating your leadership on the team. I think you had some of those important attributes that you need to be a great leader. So I think you already had that coming in. And I just think being around the environment of the national team, those ones that are good leaders become great leaders. And Carla was already that. Carla was our center back. So, not a very popular decision for the fans per se. She's the center back. You don't get a lot of attention for many things, but without her on the field, we won't win. So I think, her leadership skills added to her ability and made her that much positive impact for our team. And I think she just cultivated it in our environment. And once you earn the respect of players, then it's easier to lead. Once you earn that respect and trust, then they're all aboard, and it's then we're all doing it together.
You brought up the point there, Kristine, about everybody having a role and every role being important. And oftentimes success is not the most glamorous, right? The big goal scorer, may get all the glory and the front page of the paper, but everybody has a role. And if everybody doesn't do their job, things start to fall.
Yeah.
Allie Krieger is another one that I've talked to from the women's national team. And she went further. She said, it's not just about everybody on the field. It's about the support staff and the equipment managers and the training staff. And she said to me, Andrew, if one of them doesn't do everything that they can, then the system doesn't work. What are some of the scrappy, like less glamorous things that maybe that you've had to do that have helped you, power your success? Because it can't all be, goals and glory.
No, it's not. And I think, that's what I say when I talk about the success of our team. There's so many elements, there's so many pieces to the puzzle that make us successful. I remember, I'm a left midfielder, not very glamorous position, especially if you play a 3-4-3 and running a ton. And I remember leaving some games just so drained because I just ran for 90 minutes, maybe got the ball like 15% of the time because it always goes up the right side of the field, and I'm a lefty. So some games you just feel like you don't matter and that you just ran for no reason. But, when you do get those moments where the coach or the captains, take the time and say, "Lil, hey, great stuff today. Without you out there, things don't flow." And then another role that I always had was being on the goalpost on corner kicks, and not glamorous. You stand there, you're pretty much obsolete for I would say 98% of the time until one moment's needed, which it was in 1999 World Cup. Where I had the ball off the line. But you know what? I had 354 games. I've probably been on that post 345. Maybe some of those games I was somewhere else, and nothing's happened. And then it takes one moment for something to happen. And I was there. And that's the credit to the coaches because we go over set plays. We know where our position is. Everyone accepts it. They might not like it, but they accept it and they do their role. And that's part of it. And I just grateful that I kept my focus and did my job.
It's one of the greatest moments in American sports history that people, I think, sometimes forget. That goal line clearance that you had in 1999. Everybody remembers Brandi Chastain's penalty kick. People sometimes forget the role that Kristine Lilly played. Not only did you score a penalty kick in that setting, but you also had that goal line clearance. I want to dig into that a little bit more. I mean, it's something that you're taught to do, that you're trained to do, that you do. It's almost like monotonous. Like it can become ingrained in you. And if nothing happens, maybe it's something that you get distracted or you focus less on or you spend less time thinking about. And then in an instant, it means everything to the team and to the country who's behind you. What's that like? How do you stay focused on those things that are just monotonous at times?
I think what's interesting about staying focused or just being in the game, we go over things so much that it becomes routine. Some people may call it superstitions when someone says, "Do you have superstitions?" But to me, it's part of your routine. Prior to the game, you're getting ready a certain way. And the reason why it's a routine is because you don't want to think. You don't want to be like, "Oh, I got to do this, this, and this." You want to just have your routine set, and you just know, once I go to the field, this is what happens, and this is what happens. Corner kicks, I go to the post, and it's 90% that post because I'm a lefty. If you're looking at the goal and I'm on the left post staring at the goal, that leaves my left foot inside the goal. So I'm able to clear balls out with my left foot, and that's my stronger foot. So there's a reason why that post happened. If the ball was served from the other side on the World Cup, I would still have been on that post. So those are just attention to detail, and you got to do it. And I think what is interesting too is, before our game, we go over and we stand up. Everyone's like, okay, set up for corner kick, defensive corners. And in the locker room, and back in the day, we're in tiny locker rooms, we would stand and I would be on this and I'd almost be next to the other person on the other post. And then our goalkeeper, Bri, would be in the middle and we'd be all close. But we would be in our spots where we needed to be. So we always kind of routinely did it over and over again. And it just came part of what you did. You didn't know any different. And I think that's also time on the team. I mean, when you're a new player coming in and suddenly you're thrown into a game and you're like, shoot, where am I? Where am I? You don't know where your role is. And that's where teammates come in to help. But we all kind of knew where everyone should be and just did our job.
Does that routine help alleviate some of the pressure that you're feeling in kind of higher octane situations? What about that? Or did you not feel pressure? What's your take on pressure?
Well, no, I didn't feel, pressure. I heard one definition of pressure, and it was pressure is when you question your ability. And I always think that's a great way to put it, because I think when you feel it, you're questioning whether you could do it. And I think that in soccer, when you take a penalty kick, I think is the only time you may question your ability, because you're like, oh my God, if I miss this. So I think pressure is just when you question what you can do. And for the most part, when we're in mid game, you're not questioning what you can do. You're just doing it because you've done there, you've been there before. You know what your role is, you know what you want to get out of the game. So you're just spot on. So for the most part, I didn't feel the pressure, but that's due to the amount of training we've done and the confidence we felt for each other and in ourselves.
Earlier this year, Kristine, I interviewed 2021 WNBA Rookie of the Year, Michaela Onyenwere on the New York Liberty. She told me she reframes pressure. She reframes it as a privilege. And the way she thinks about it is, she said, I'm in this situation because somebody believes I can be here. And I thought that was really interesting. It's something that you can apply to a lot of things. I mean, kids could take into their activities, whether it's in sport or something else. We can take to the business world, into elite athletics. You're in situations because somebody believes in you. I thought that was an interesting perspective.
I think that's great. I mean, that's where you build your confidence. I mean, if you can believe that and feel that, that's even more incredible, because and that's a good coach as well, that is instilling in that in their players. If they know that, that's a great feeling from both ends. But I think that's the one thing when I'm coaching young kids, I just want them to know that I believe in them. So, I mean, you're here for a reason. It's not just I just picked you up and you're here. You're here for a reason, and you can do whatever, it is that we ask of you.
Kristine, you're the author of one of my favorite books, Powerhouse, 13 Teamwork Tactics That Build Excellence and Unrivaled Success. I absolutely love the book. Everybody listening should check it out. You obviously such a great leader, such a builder of culture and great teams. But one of the things that stands out to me when I think about your career and all the accomplishments is the longevity and the consistency. You competed in 5 World Cups. I mean, that's just remarkable in and of itself.
Yeah.
Very, very long career. Obviously, all the goals, 130 international goals you mentioned before, 354 caps. You're the world leader in that. How did you stay so consistent? What were some of the secret ingredients to the longevity and the consistency?
Yeah, I was just talking on our we had a UNC alumni Zoom call yesterday, and I was talking about what my career was based on my fitness. And I think if you find one thing that you're really good at, that builds the confidence strength for all the other things. So for me, my fitness was my backbone of my career. If I was fit, if I could run up and down the field for 90 plus minutes, then I can do all the other stuff that's being asked of me: passing, dribbling, shooting, being a good teammate. I could do all that. So I think a lot to do with just how I trained and how I put that emphasis on my training. I also believe it's a lot of genes from family. My grandma lived to be 92, never drove a car, walked everywhere. So I think we have some, strong genes in there. So there's a lot of different elements. And I was fortunate too in the same aspect. I didn't have any injuries that kept me down. I met my husband a little bit later in life. So, maybe that also enabled me to play longer because I didn't have a family to start, even though I started and had kids and came back. Nowadays, which is great, people are having families and continue to play. So it's just tremendous. So I just think there's a lot of different elements. And then the support from my family, my friends, and my teammates. It really helped me to have a career that I did.
We know the orange slices are what drew you to soccer, but is there something that drew you to fitness? Was that something that fitness is in and of itself a craft?
You know what? I mean, even to this day, I enjoy, I think, the solitude. It gives me time to think. There's no one that I can let down except myself. So, if things don't go well, I take that in and know if I struggled one day, I know what it was. It's not that I'm trying to impress someone. It was just myself. And I felt better. I didn't feel good doing it. I mean, the fitness was always hard, whether you're running full field sprints, little cones, that never felt good. But when I was done, I was like, I felt stronger. If I felt stronger, then it gave me the confidence and just kind of keep going.
One of the things that's interesting when I talk to elite athletes, especially, is how they transition from like their life in sport to their life after sport. And a conversation I had with 3-time Olympic gold medalist Tessa Virtue, she's an ice dancer, comes to mind. She said, it's interesting, I used to view like a good workout as like 2 hours. And since leaving skating, I found after I left skating, I found myself saying, if I couldn't work out for 2 hours, it wasn't worth working out. And then what I realized was you got to get back to the little baby steps. And every little thing in fitness or in any goal that you set on any journey matters. How do you look at that? How do you look at incremental steps, getting started? What's your advice to somebody who's trying to get started in anything?
Well, just do something. I mean, I've talked to people about, fitness all the time. And back in the day when I was playing, everyone used to say to me, Lil, fitness is so easy for you. And I used to get kind of mad because I was like, it wasn't easy. It never was easy. But it's what I did in the training at home prior to coming into camp. If we had to do a fitness test, if we had to run cones there and 5 cones there and back, up and back 5 times at different lengths in 35 seconds. And then you had to get extra rest on one of them. I would do it at home less. You know what I mean? So did not give extra rest. So when I got in with the national team, I was fit. So I tell people, just go out there, do something, go walk for a mile, take your dog for a walk, find a friend, just do something for a week, just something little, and then go from there.
That's really interesting. So you did like the preparation. So people would look at you in camp and say, oh, she's got this under control. That comes easy to her. But it was really that you were preparing kind of behind the scenes to make sure you were ready?
Yes. Basically, I would do it harder at home because if I could do it harder at home when I got into camp, it was going to be easier. And there was a fitness test I used to have to do at North Carolina. We had to do a Cooper, 7.25 laps in 12 minutes. And I used to train for that prior to going into to school, where I'd 12 o'clock midday in the summer heat, I would run 2 laps around the track as fast as I could. I'd do a little bit more than I had to, and I do it at the hottest part of the day because Carolina in August was awful. And I would just make sure if I could do it here, then I could do it there.
I'm constantly drawn, I'm constantly drawn to these, I call them like the tarp pulling moments, like these moments where people do these things that people can't even imagine, right? That have this incremental impact on their success. And so often people look at successful people in any walk of life and they say, oh, you're so lucky. Look at your God-given talent. Look at, how the coach favors you. But it's so often not that. It's work behind the scenes, behind the curtain that, maybe it's failing on your own that sets you up for success in the big moments.
It is. And the thing about it is there could be like 10 people that have God-given talent and then 5 of them that make it. because if they don't have the mentality to do the training or what it takes to handle things, or if they may have God-given talent, think that they don't have to work because they got this God-given talent, that changes everything. So whether you have God-given talent, you still have to have the mentality and the work ethic and the mindset to be able to do the job that you're set out to do.
You work with a lot of young athletes these days, Kristine, at the academy and doing a lot of different things. When you look at a young athlete, is there something that you're looking for to see if they have kind of the complete package to be able to manage all of these things that you're describing?
Well, first off, you're seeing if they have talent, and you can tell pretty sure if they have natural talent or if they're going to have to work a little bit hard to learn the basic skills. But then you're also seeing how they handle themselves, how they talk to their teammates. It's not just about the game, especially for young kids, which they think it is. It's about how they treat each other. It's how they, when they fall down, if they get up, if they lose, how do they handle it? Are they mad, which is a good sign, but are they a good sport as well, which is also a good sign if they are. So there's a lot of different elements. And I think these days, these kids are given so much that you want to see how they do handle the tough times when things don't go well and see where they stand then.
I've talked to a lot of college coaches who talk about recruiting, and they say actually they're looking for more kind of like before practice and after practice than they are during practice. They're looking to see like who comes out early, who cleans up all the balls, and who cleans, this was a baseball coach. He was telling me, I'm looking to see who cleans up the dugout and picks up some trash. Like these are little indicators that I'm looking for to see what type of people and what type of character they have to go with the talent.
You are looking at the character and looking at what they're going to be like, because you can have the 10 best players on the field, but if they don't have character or a good thing, it's not going to be a great environment for anybody.
Kristine, before I let you go, I want to obviously talk about some of the recent news with the women's national team, the new collective bargaining agreement, finally equal pay with their male counterparts. I still don't think it's enough pay. I think this team deserves far more. And one of the things that struck me is I was reading, the news and thinking about it. And obviously it's a cool moment for everybody, especially someone like me with 2 daughters, right? Yeah. This is long overdue and there's far more that should be done. But I think of this as, this isn't just an accomplishment for the current players. This is, years and decades in the making through when your teammates built years ago. Have you had a chance to kind of step back and reflect and say, okay, we all had a part in getting the women's national team to the platform it has today and maybe making this possible?
You do. What the team has accomplished now is due to what happened before. And I think that's everything in life if you look at it. I mean, especially in the women's sports. I mean, there are people that came before me that had to knock down some things to be able to get us on the field to have a women's national team. So there's always people that have done something before. And, with this agreement with equal pay, it is due to what we did in the past. I mean, they wouldn't have been at this level if we didn't do other things. And at the time when we were doing it, we were just trying to get paid. So there are so many elements that we were just fighting for just to get the respect, So now just to see come to fruition now, which I think has been a little bit too long of a time to get to this point, but it's great. And it should be. I mean, what the U.S. Women's Program has done and has brought to our country and to U.S. soccer has been pretty incredible. So it's a good sign. And that's due to the players. It's also due to Cindy Parlow Cone, who's the president of U.S. Soccer. She was a former player. She obviously understands the point of view from all sides. So I think that change of having her in position really helped the situation.
It's certainly been exciting to see. And I think, obviously even with all the history with the women's national team, the best is yet to come. I think there's so much greatness ahead. Obviously, you're one of the greatest players in the team's history, one of the greatest leaders. I enjoy our friendship, Kristine. I enjoy learning from you. And I'm so grateful for this conversation. And I can't say enough. I think about the orange slices all the time. And I try and look at everything through the prism of why am I doing this in the first place? Things require a lot of grit, determination, and hard work, but you got to remember why you're doing things in the first place. And that orange slice story is one of my favorites. So thank you for spending some time with me this week, Kristine.
Yeah, Andrew, thank you so much. I enjoy our conversations. I appreciate it.
Thank you for joining me this week. Be sure to subscribe in your favorite podcast app so you can catch all of our upcoming episodes. And if you are like me and want a world full of tart pullers, then leave a review to help others find us. You can also follow me on Twitter at Andrew H. Moses. That's Andrew H. Moses. And be sure to sign up for my email newsletter at everybodypullsthetarp.com/newsletter. I'll share tips and insights to help you achieve maximum success and happiness. Today's a great day to pull the tarp. I am rooting for you. See you next time.